STR to hand. Hold on, John. Let me see. I think John Kitover's here. Just in time. I want to get some of this on YouTube. So let me make sure this is you, John Kitover.
Yeah. So, Odie, again, I just have to say, you don't know what you're talking about. I have dozens of hours. I mean, hours and hours of content from last year telling people, it does not matter how you personally feel about Harris. We need Harris to win. Hours. Because it's not about personal feelings. It's not about, I can't sleep at night because if I vote for a genocider. No, I thought that stuff was fucking dumb. I thought it was stupid. Said it over and over again and again. Yes. I just think it is a feelings-based misrepresentation. I understand. I get it, Odie. We're all suffering. We are.
Kimberly, do you have the link for John Kitover streaming so you can add it to your copyright claim? It's in here now. It's online.
Okay. So good. This is good. I did 2 yesterday. I haven't gotten a follow-up yet, but.
Cool. Gaza. I mean, yeah, it's
But I thought we understood that it was the Biden administration, not Harris, right? I did criticize the Biden administration's relationship with Netanyahu. Lots of people did. I still said that we have to vote for Kamala Harris.
I read yesterday, or maybe it's this morning, that the New York Democrats don't have an appetite for mid. This is all a mystery to me. Strange. Somebody put the link in the chat of John Kitover's streaming so Kimberly can make her third request to get his station shut down. All you have to do is come in and ask. I will let people know. They'll say, yes, Taylor. We do not get permission for this to appear on YouTube. What do you think?
But yeah, I do agree with you, Gov, that just the media strategy, the timing is just not ideal because it does foment Democrat on Democrat or fake Democrat on Democrat or leftist on Democrat banging. Like, we gotta kick it back up again. When this is the perfect time to be laser focused on the corruption, the havoc that the current administration is causing.
because he's streaming people without their permission. So it's just the best way to do it.
Oh, the other thing about it is because he goes. Oh, this was the other thing that I ran into. Because he goes between channels, it's gonna be not 3 times that I'm gonna have to report. It's gonna be 6 instances that I'm gonna have to report.
Okay. All right. So I'm having lunch. So I'll make the club, and then people can join it, and then we can move from there. Cool. Yeah, I'll do a live request. That's what I meant. He also streams it on Facebook too, just so people know. He does both Facebook and YouTube.
He's got to run and hide.
Watching community.
They need justice, right? They need.
I think that there's a gross underestimation of the extent to which Trump's base was principled in their stance on the Epstein files.
Absolutely. No, I agree.
So this kind of manifests as a kind of gross negligence on their part, just straight along those people only to underdeliver. Yeah, that's the best case scenario. The worst case scenario is that they're in on the government, which is what a lot of people suspect.
Yeah, and then then you can kind of, even though you might think a lot of things about Elon, but then it lends more credence to like the uni-party thing, right? It doesn't really matter if it's a red tie or blue tie; they're all part of a club that we're not invited to. And and you're not supposed to be naive either, of course. Like if it's matters of national security, you need to kind of like you have to use discernment, right? Some things are absolutely like this thing, for example. I think it's really something that the American public deserve to know the truth about. But then what are the implications of it becoming public? Who are the people that have done this? How many are they? What connections do they have to other governments, for example? Which Tucker Carlson seems very, very keen on trying to imply, right? So not only him, but others like him.
I mean, to be fair, the principle stands along those lines. Like, if you take for granted the things that all of the people who currently hold office took for granted, which was that there was an illegal ring of pedophilic activity perpetrated by Epstein and his wife, then that means there's a bunch of victims of this, and that means that there were clients of this, and so they exist. If that's the starting point, then you need to bring these people to justice, and like not releasing that information seems like a huge impediment to bringing these people to justice. And if you're doing it to protect people in government, that makes it worse because that makes you complicit. So it doesn't take much conspiratorial thinking. You can just be a reasonable person and come to these conclusions. And so it's hard to dismiss and just move on. And so when I hear Charlie Kirk say, I don't care about the Epstein files anymore, it's like, well, that's weird.
It's very, very weird, especially considering he likes to point out the fact that he's a Christian. Not that it has much merit here, but just, in fairness, you want truth. You're supposed to live by the truth. And then there must be a very, very compelling reason as to why you would want to kind of fuck over your voter base. As you said, either they are complicit or it's something deeper. Maybe it's tied to like a whole bunch of stuff that we're not supposed to know about. But even if that is the case, I still think you could disclose at least something. Just throw people a bone, But they kind of essentially they're gaslighting everyone now and saying that we're all crazy because we believe this, right? And I don't think that's smart.
Yeah, I think it's bad optics, which is now turning into bad political strategy, and it's giving ammo to the political rebels.
Yeah, but also
enough time to weaponize it against them.
Yeah, but what would be the alternative then, Jason? Because I mean, if we're looking, I don't know who the Democrats are going to run the next cycle, right? But you can rest assured it's going to be one of these swamp creatures. So it's like it doesn't matter who you vote for; they're all pedophiles. So is it the pedophiles with the best morals? Is that the one you're going to vote for? You know, who has the best economic policy? We're all fucking children, but at least I don't want to tax you as high as the other guy. What? It feels like I'm taking crazy pills.
I mean, I hear you. I know that's not a negative response, but I think that some people are really serious about this. It's kind of like their issue. So you can I don't know how many Americans that is. I don't know what the electoral outcomes that they're going to come on this.
So, Muse, I have a theory about the Epstein case that's not popular, but the people that had sex with 17-year-old females thought they were 18. So, my theory, I'm happy to your criticism, is no one thought they were flying to that island to have sex with women younger than 18. Epstein introduced women and said, hey, this woman is 18. A lot of men had sex with women who were 17, but they thought they were 18, and then Epstein blackmailed them. So there are a lot of criminals, but they were accidental criminals. And I'm not trying to persuade you of the truth of that theory. I'm asking whether you've heard that theory from anyone else.
I never heard that theory. If I would consider it, I'd say it's probably likely that a subset of them were like that, but not all of them. I think some of them knew full well those girls were underage. I suspect as much. I think it's a reasonable suspicion. One of the reasons is because if you're going to do like a ring of the sort that's being described, and a lot of times what you would advertise is the fact that they're underage, because that there are people who have those predilections, and then you promise them they're rich and powerful people, so you promise them discretion along the lines of like what P. Diddy was accused of. So like, I actually think that probably a lot of them knew full well that those girls were underage. And apparently, supposedly, there's supposed to be a bunch of child pornography materials that are part of the evidence. So people were creating films of this sort, and it seems like at least those people knew that those people were underage. So if that theory is true, it probably applies to just a unspecifiable subset.
Just to piggyback off of that news, I think Homer, I understand where you're coming from, and I tend to agree that it's probably a subsection of all these people. We also have to understand the depths of depravity we are speaking about here. If we're just talking about like run-of-the-mill, gay clubs, they fucking shit in each other's mouths. Do you think really fucking a child is that crazy to some people? I mean, come on. Hyperbolic a little bit, sure, but I mean, these people are. So maybe we're being. Again, this is very much tinfoil, Alex Jonesy, but we're talking a lot about. You hear this term a lot when you have like predictive programming and stuff. Like if a Hollywood screenwriter can write about children being murdered, in elite parties or like Squid Game and stuff like that, it's not beyond the scope of what could actually happen in reality. Not saying it's widespread, but it definitely. I mean, they have pedophile rings not only in America, like the Savile guy in the UK. He was the biggest kind of child. He had like a kids show in like the 70s, I think. They knew full well that he was exploiting children, right? But it didn't say anything because they were gathering compromat on all his friends. So it's not like it hasn't happened before.
What you mean.
You convinced me that some of the men knew they were having sex with underage women. Some of these men do deserve to be exposed and put in prison. And you've convinced me that Trump has made a decision to protect. Trump has on his desk proof that there are certain men who are guilty, and Trump is protecting them. And I could understand completely why someone who really believes that could be permanently angry at Trump. So you've simplified it for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's very hard as a layman or someone without access to power to understand the reasoning behind it, because we don't see all the cards, right? Could be that he can use it as leverage. And some people might say, oh, that's a massive code, like he could be using the knowledge that he has to kind of implement the changes he ran.
Yeah, maybe. You could imagine a scenario where he has videos of Macron, right, and Starmer, right, and even like say Zelensky, right. Like it's possible, not likely, but it's possible. He has videos, and it's possible he is using them to advance the best interest of America. Out of the question. It's a possibility, but it's also possible. It's also possible, considering he's such a scummy guy, that he's just blackmailing them and saying, "Give me billions of dollars into my personal account." That could be happening.
That could also be happening. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
What would he?
There's also the supposition that he may be on the hook too.
Enjoyed a wonderful meal.
There's reason why that's not that, but
yeah.
Oh, it's just
The comparison again, Muse, was very, very apt. I think, just look at, to what extent they ran cover for Biden during his mental decline, right? They were essentially just every day on the news being like, oh, sharp as attack,
Well, we've already enjoyed a wonderful meal together.
Body doubles and stuff, and you're like, okay, well, this is obviously what they're doing. Everyone knows that they're doing it, but
Wait, hold on. Wait. They use body doubles for...
Yeah, Andre. There's a clip where they have basketball, like NBA Biden. He's like 6'5". He's 6'5". He's like towering over his wife. I can see if I can find that clip, but clearly it's not him. But they all act like it's him. I think we're living in like this weird kind of 1984-ish, but not as cool version of reality where they're all just they're doing what they need to do in order to for the optics. All right, so no, I definitely believe there's more to this, and the interesting question, Muse, is when is the breaking point? Like, when are the American public fed up enough with this back and forth? Essentially, two sock puppets just fighting each other for entertainment.
Well, is it possible? Have you considered that part of the success of America is incredibly successful compared to Europe, is precisely because our political parties are fighting about this silly stuff. I'm not trying to convince you of the truth of that, but if you compare the public policies in the U.S. to the public policies in Europe, we have kicked Europe.
Hamas, Homer. And this is...
Alex, where are you located? I'm not trying to be an asshole. Where are you physically located?
In Scandinavia, Homer.
Okay, so are you in one of those countries that made the mistake of letting in migrants that may be committing a little crime?
I'm currently the poster boy for that. Okay. My country is at the bleeding edge of this endeavor.
Okay. So I have praise for your country. So I was actually visiting your country, and there's a lot of nice things in your country. Truthfully, Malmo is...
No, it's a Chico. It's back there.
But your whole country is now Malmo. So I think most Republicans would say, I visited Malmo, it's a shithole, so your country sucks.
Yeah.
Whereas I would visit one of the more northern cities and say your country is beautiful. And I want to give you, I don't want to divert the room, I give your country tremendous praise for pivoting. I know of no country in the world that's pivoted more decisively than your country has. And the voters of your country treated the Sweden Democrats as worse than scum for many years. And now it's sort of like almost the majority
not wagging the finger here, but what I'm trying to kind of the point of the laws that we have to follow are not being decided on the national level. It's the people in Brussels that they don't pay any taxes on their salary. They decide exactly what we're going to do. What a farmer in my country, how many potatoes is that farmer going to grow before he gets fined? That is decided.
Well, my whole criticism of Europe doesn't have to do with Brussels. You may be misinterpreting, Alex. So I'm going to be clear. Brussels, I'm sorry to be an asshole, but Brussels did not force your country to let in the most violent.
No, absolutely not.
Please let me finish. Okay, Brussels did not force Germany to destroy its economy by shutting down nuclear power. That's not
I see. I think John
Brussels did not force
just in time.
In
Get
fact,
some of this on YouTube.
Brussels
Somebody's
was supportive of nuclear, as you can see in France. Brussels never forced a nation to have employment contracts for life. In other words, Brussels never forced companies to never fire the unproductive employees. That was mostly national government. Total to this. Let me give the final example. No one on Clubhouse, literally zero people on Clubhouse know this, but Europe's policy towards air conditioners kills more people than all the guns and all the cars in America. So what I'm saying is, if you add up every single person in America who's killed by a car, and every single person in America who's killed by guns, it's still a smaller number than the number of Europeans that die every summer, because the Europeans are so retarded they vote to ban air conditioning.
We've already enjoyed a wonderful week together.
No fucking people on Clubhouse know that. But I'm done speaking. You go ahead.
Yeah, it's a fantastic point, Homer. And absolutely, there are instances where countries, in some sort of suicidal empathy, they make these super retarded decisions. Excuse my French. Because out of dogma and ideology, right? So the Germans essentially saying, you know what? We're going to make ourselves entirely energy dependent on Russia, instead of going the opposite direction.
Even worse, right? The environmentalists, you're correct, but you're understating it. The environmentalists forced them to shut down nuclear. So Germany is now burning coal. So because of the Green Party, the Green Party of Germany has fucked the air quality of all of Northern Europe, because they shut down clean, efficient nuclear in order to have coal. That's how retarded it is.
Yes, and it's the fault of short-term thinking, and I think unfortunately you see this in a lot of these countries that, which I mean, you can discredit both sides of the eye here, to be honest. But back in the day, we had huge kind of systems and long-term strategies, right? So after the Second World War, when we got the loans from America, thank you very much. Then these countries, they at least had leaders that realized that, hey, this is a big national project. It's going to take decades to get to the goal here. But at some point in time, they got lost.
Yeah, I agree with you. I would describe America. As controlled by the deep state. But I think what no one else on Clubhouse sees, except for me, is it's a benevolent, altruistic deep state. So, and you're not going to hear this from anyone else, in my view. The deep state, the leaders, the real powers behind the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, they conspire on most things, right? And it's a conspiracy to deny Americans what they have in Europe, right? Plato said, as you well know, Plato said democracy can never work. In America recognizes that Plato is correct and that democracy has to be tempered. And so I think essentially what you have in America is both parties pretend to hate each other. And the proletariat, trust me on one thing, the proletariat in the Democratic Party hates the proletariat in the Republican Party.
again, I think you are very efficient in kind of describing it. But you know, you play devil's advocate here. I mean, it sounds like you're, you know, championing the lizard people. And I mean, I get that because ability is, of course, critical, especially if you're the most powerful nation in the world.
Well, Alex, if anyone, I think we're going to like just accept that the lizard people are
Our series public health concern in 2023, over 47,000 excess deaths were reported taking. In 2022, over 60,000 deaths were estimated. Wow, so anywhere from 47,000 to 60. I see that there's been 80,000. However, the last data that I see was 2023. It is now 2025, so perhaps it's possible it got up to 80 maybe in 2024 or so. It is the summer now, so they wouldn't come up with those until after the summer was over. So about it. The United States, approximately 42,514 people die in car accidents each year. So somewhere in the ballpark of 42.5 thousand people. So that's car accidents. And in gun deaths, 46,728 people. Somewhere around that number. I will exact number in 2023. Something around 46.7 thousand. If you combine those, that would add up to more than 80,000. I mean, if the air conditioning, lack of air conditioning cause deaths was 80,000. So it's not true to say that there are more deaths caused by air conditioning or lack of air conditioning. There must be bans. Hold on. Air conditioning bans. Most of the deaths of car accidents and U.S. gun deaths combined. That is a false statement. I just want to bring that out. I get the numbers.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying. It's good, but I think even though Homer may have used a little bit of hyperbole here, to me he still gets his point across, which is that especially like the idealism that is very, very prominent in the European culture, it serves nothing more than exacerbating the destruction of itself. Like if we talk about energy independence, for example, which is you need it in order to survive, right? Especially if you live in the northern part of the world, you're going to like everything is going to fail if you're not able to manage that properly. And then you compare it to China, where they are opening coal plants every fucking 2 weeks, and the farmers they even though they live in a rural town, they air condition their pigs realistic. I understand Homer's point there, and I think America is smarter in managing these things. But the question I would pose, Homer, is: do the ends justify the means? You know, if there's a benevolent cabal, it makes like gut feeling says it makes sense. It makes like gut feeling says it makes sense that it be like that. Because as you say, yeah, democracy is flawed because people are easily swayed, and they also tend to forget very quickly, right?
Yeah, but I mean, that's why I travel in Europe. I hate America, but then I travel in Europe and I love America. The whole time I spend in Europe, I love America. And I just observe the voluntary poverty at every level of European society, and it's striking, and you can't see it unless you go by Google to find it. The final thing I'll say is, in America, we have this incredible social pressure on billionaires to donate most of their money. So I don't know if you saw just today, Larry Ellison announced he's giving 80% of his money to Oxford University to build an institute to solve the future's problems. So that's something special about America, that Europe just does not have billionaires' pressure to donate money the way we have in America. Respect, yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally, like, again, Homer, I don't take it personally. I am a little bit of a America high
reasons. One is they overpromised and underdelivered. That's the best case. The worst case is that they're beyond that. Those to me seem like the two most likely theories or explanations. And I don't claim to know. This is speculation.
Yeah, of course. But both are. One is of course clearly worse than the other, but the other one is not good either. So yeah, it's like
Well, I think the biggest irony would be if it's the best case scenario, then it's the product of the GOPers putting their foot in their mouth and stringing a bunch of conspiracy theorists types along, only to realize that they have a government interest in not divulging things in the way that they promised. So they were naive in presuming that. So I think that's kind of funny.
I mean, there's a lot of there's a lot of cases where the government keeps secrets for whatever reason. I'll give a very brief example. Like,
No, I'm aware that you don't have to give examples. I mean, if you want to, you can.
well, the one is in Saudi Arabia, right? The leader of Saudi Arabia cut apart his wife with a bone saw, essentially, and we've covered it up and we forgive him for it. And it's good that we forgive him for cutting that guy up with a bone saw because it serves me.
A better example would be like if they have like confirmation or confirmed knowledge of the existence of aliens and they don't tell people because the people freak the fuck out. Like that would probably be a better example.
yeah, that one is actually also very interesting case because I mean it gets to the heart of these long-running, cover-up stories, and for the longest time, people like Joe Rogan and all these, those types of people, they were branded as, stupid and tinfoil and kind of schizophrenics, right? But now, increasingly, the people representing the state have kind of admitted, or at least alluded to, that there are things there where previously it would have been discarded as just bullshit, right? Or stuff like that. So I've heard a couple of different kind of things, right? Either it's like high-level black projects by defense contractors like Boeing and stuff like that, right? And they're willfully using these adjacent stories to obfuscate what they actually have, which is smart. I'm not saying they should tell everyone exactly what they have, especially adversaries, right? But at the same time, I mean, doesn't the taxpayer have a right to know at least a little bit about what the hell is going on? Or should we just shut up and pay taxes and keep our heads down? Right? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I told her this like years ago, but I kind of ended up settling on the idea that I do think that there are a range of things where a competent government would not release information to the general public because the general public's likely response would make matters worse. And so anything that fits that paradigm, I can kind of get behind the idea of like, what are the criteria for things that we shouldn't tell people versus things that, that maybe people deserve to know. And that shit gets tricky real fast. So if you have like maybe you have a scenario in which a particular politician or presidential candidate, let's say, would objectively be like really good for the country, but they're mired in some like scandal of some horrible thing that they did years, so typically treat like not just based in people's political opinions, but like let's say that there was a scenario where that was clearly true. Would it be in the best interest of the American public to not know about that scandal? And I came up with this in the context of trying to figure out like if there was any set of circumstances that could justify, say, hiding.
Because I mean, it strikes at the heart of American patriotism as well. It's what is maybe I'm using the term wrong here, Jason, but I mean like what it means to be an American and being able to pursue the happiness and freedom and the support that you have and the that the Russian thing was something that we know wasn't real, was fabricated, right? Is that, can we chalk it up to just political squabble, like it's the Democrats versus the Republicans, they're trying to fling shit on each other, or is it something more nefarious, something deeper? It's the same with what was his name, Watergate, what's the name of yours, Nixon, right? I have heard. There wasn't. That was true. No, I know it was true, but the reason
also, like, I think to me, it just kind of affirms one of the reasons why I'm jaded about politics is that both sides are full of shit. They're just trying to stay in power or gain power to the extent they don't have it. I don't think any Democrats really care about any of this shit, to be honest with you. I think they care about it to the extent that it helps them get power back. So,
But we have two people in the room. So I'm going to shut up now. But thank you so much for the exchange. I think all of you have very good points so far. So,
so Steve, so what you can.
Hey man, how's it going?
Okay, with that, how you doing?
Yeah, I think you're dead on. You know, I voted for Trump. He wasn't the person I voted for in the primary, though. I mean, I didn't vote for him in the primary. In the general, I voted for him. Times have a lot of interconnections, and power becomes the most intoxicating drug that they can consume. And when it comes to them and the people around them maintaining and collecting power, those, like you said, Democrats and the Republicans are the same on this bill. It's, if you think we as a Republican or we as a Democrat has anything in common with the people pulling them over some power, you're delusional.
So, did you finish your comments on it?
Sure. I'd say I'm probably still in the earlier. I'm still in the process of like process of trying to process things. Sort of, it's very intriguing to me, and even though I had ran around to at no point was I like bloodthirsty about how we utilize things like that. But it's like it is interesting with the way that it was sort of presented, and well, sure, maybe this is probably like just playing political football with the sort of materials and information that you have at your disposal, right? So it's like the way it's sort of been presented, whether by Trump himself, or just folks that line up on the right. I think it's how would I put it? What sort of the phrases that it's turned into. So all of a sudden, sort of how quickly we're trying to dismiss it. It's sort of that's interesting to me. To me, it's like did they talk out of their ass, and it's like at this point, it's like I have a lot of things that are on the table that I'm thinking about. And one thing that's sort of silly that I've been thinking about is sort of doubling down on the conspiracy theory, right? But it's like, look, in my defense, like at this point, it might be plausible. Who knows? Crazy things happen. But it's like, okay, there's a list, right? But is it this white law that people are talking about, which I do think parts of those have definitely been released, or is it this client list, which I'm not sure for sure exists, but if it does, I was thinking about this the other day. It's like, okay, let's say it's as big of a public as we think it is. It's like, you would think that if they were to get rid of anything, it would probably be the most damn documents that are around, and I think that's even more likely, if that's the case, that they would do that than like just kill Jeffrey Epstein. It's like you went through all the work to kill a guy, which
is the FBI director, Ash Patel. When he came out, when Cash came out and was giving his little spiel one day, I can't remember, it's been a while back, but the guy looked like someone who'd been taken in a back room and been shaken down. Like, dude, this is what you're going to say, and you're going to say it this way, and that's going to be the end of it. He had that wide-eyed, deer-in-the-headlights look that, like, it's almost like he's gauging every word. And then what occurred to me at that time was that in the world, we have the kind of power. It makes someone at that level and shake them up that badly. You know what I'm saying? That was disturbing to me.
As for Trump, I think what he did, like, I think he's just like, I think he's probably just mostly taking the word of like, the intelligence that he's getting, right? So, at least this is what I think might be going on. I can imagine Donald Trump just like getting briefed by Cash Patel, the Pambani or whatever, right? And then sort of telling him that, looks like kill himself. Maybe this is nothing burger, there's nothing here. And Trump goes back to why are you guys still talking about this? This is old stuff, right? I think at least it seems plausible, right? Because the people that have more knowledge of it in this administration are making these claims, and it's also the fact that Trump's like, I think he's 80, right? It's sort of also understandable that he doesn't have like a pulse on like the immediate the wind of the culture, political, even though he's showing that he's very headed. But I do think just a couple of days ago that after he was sort of saying something like, I can't think we're still talking about this. He also said that Pambani showed these more vials too, so he's sort of doing this. I think he's picking up on it slowly that the portion of his base is they're just not going to shut up about it, which is which actually like as someone that's voted for Trump like twice, not in a single election, that's at least guys no vote for Trump, but that's that's
This could cost him. It's out of control. This could cost him big time in the midterms. If he loses to a bunch of seats in the midterms, he's basically done for the rest of his presidency. So he's got to get a handle on this thing one way or the other. He's in trouble in the midterms. I know there's a lot of Republicans that are not happy right now. They can get a disaffected base. They're not going to turn out. And you're going to get smoked in the midterms.
I wouldn't even be surprised if this is the imagination of my mind, so it's not real, there's no evidence of it, it's true. But
George Soros, you think George Soros is MAGA? You think he operates under the same rules that me and you operate? Come on.
What's up, Jason? You want to know what I think, Steve? I think there's a massive cover up. I think there's things there that I don't want the world to see. I think their man was murdered in person. Okay? Because you didn't need a perfect storm to this guy to kill himself. Security guards, CEOs fall asleep, cameras miraculously just not working on the same night that they fall asleep. And there's a battle of seconds. Like both sides, I mean, Republicans, Democrats, don't care if they want to cover it or not cover it up, but anything that could possibly paint Donald Trump, and comes to his defense. Like, wait a second, dude, there's no need to release this. There's bullshit release it. By the way, that was one of his campaign promises that he was going to release these files. So let's step up to it, and I think this is going to tarnish his legacy, which I think he's trying to fix. Like, release the tapes, release the file.
I think that JB, I think he's getting a fracturing in the MAGA base from this. I don't think all of us go along with it. I mean, I voted in the general for Trump in the primary. I didn't vote for Trump in the primary. But this is something. This is a bridge too far for me.
Once again, Steve, we all grew up with football psychedelic, lab psychedelics, and duck. So this man's one of the most secure prisons in America, where they do suicide watch when they walk by every 10 to 15 minutes to check on it, because there's inmates that do that, by the way, they get paid to do that. And the cameras don't work, the cops fall asleep, they change the log. So, I don't know, to me it seems like I'm not a conspiracy person, but all the pieces fit.
What do they call that? Occupant's razor. Yeah, I mispronounced it. Sorry. Yes.
And I wouldn't be surprised, I don't know, like the next 6 months, if these things don't change, that Bonnie's forced to resign, take the bullet for Trump, stuff like that.
Yeah, but JB, under Biden, they had access to the same thing. So I think this thing's bigger than political parties. I think we're talking about the elite power brokers that operate outside political parties.
I think, Steve, you might be right. I don't know, man. I know that this guy Epstein was a video of a student at best when he was in college. I think he lost his job at Best Arts. Try to fact check that. Now this guy garnered so many billions of dollars, and he was powerful people around. And now they're saying there's no list. Come on. What's up, Audrey?
I think it's called leverage, JB. You can do a lot of things with leverage.
Hey, Stevie. One man's leverage is another man's blackmail.
Yeah, there you go, man. I mean, that's all I see here, JB. Like he's talking about the prison. Who has the power and the influence? Maybe you think about this to do pull something like that off, and I think it was pulled up. But can you imagine the influence and power you'd have to pull that off? It's love beyond anything we could do.
There's a whole plethora of possibilities. There's the CIA, the FBI, Mossad, the English intelligence. Just
They get discussing whether it's morally permissible to use wet as means chicken pickles.
depends on whose morals you ask. We were having Prince Andrew.
Well, I mean, being the moral realist, I would say it's objectively. Regardless of the, pink unicorn
that's the type of coercion that I might treat the same. But maybe it's something more along the lines of you don't have the official authority to leverage the coercion.
Some of the coercion is qualified.
But
Not qualified.
Yeah, I agree. She's not doing it. I'm she's not doing it.
I didn't hear your question because you were in the matrix.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I just said I think you're right, Jason. Your analysis here.
My analysis ain't complete. I'm speculating. I'm picking them out. But go ahead. I'll just say it again. Andre, you there?
Yeah, I just lowered my quality of my audio. I'm saying that when the coercion qualifies some sort of deception, so you're not releasing all information to a third party taking advantage.
Coercion doesn't have to be deceptive. So, for example, if I'm a parent and I coerce my child into doing something that they should do, like eat their vegetables, that doesn't involve deception at all. Eat your vegetables or you won't get your allowance. Eat your vegetables or you're going to be doing chores for a week. Something like that. That's coercion. But we would think, most of us would think that's a justified form of coercion because the goal is to induce behavior that is conducive to what they ought to do anyway.
Did they just try to connect it to the sex trafficking charge? They said it was coercion.
Well, that's different from the case I just gave.
So
I was giving just an example of a form of coercion. I think most of us would accept. That's like morally good. Like we wouldn't say it was bad that I made my child eat the vegetables. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I think in this system, like it gets a little bit more complex because what you're doing is you're withholding information from the public, so the public has a completely wrong perception of the individual. And you force it to
right. So just to be clear, I wasn't taking a position. I was saying, principles though at the base level. Like I'm not against coercion in general because of cases like what I just said, but I am against clear cases. So like if I coerced you to murder my wife because I got some dirt on you, I feel like it's a clear case of coercion being bad. And one of the reasons why at the very least is because I coerced you to do a thing you ought not have done ever in the first place.
So then coercion is not in question. It's the goal that is in question. So whichever.
It's more complicated by the fact that the coercion consists of the omission of information. So like now we're adding things.
Yeah, I don't understand. Okay, so the famous case that
I mean, other than coercion. I do think that's essential. I'm pure content on this.
oh no, that's you're like you're
Yeah, that's just deception.
Now, not telling, you don't owe them that information. So you don't have to tell them that informally. Like, particularly like when it comes to divulging private information that the person who wants the information is not authorized to have access to. I think those are clear-cut cases in which not giving them the information they want is morally fine. Like, actually, it could be immoral to give them the information. Particularly if you had the reason to think that they had enough rights to use that information, like you knew or you had reason to suspect that they were going to use that information to then blackmail someone else, like, and you participated in that, like, it could be immoral to give them the information. So, like, that's what makes all this just complicated. So now I'm thinking about principles about these factors. Then you have another layer of it is like the relationship of like government officials to constituents, and like to what extent do government officials owe information to constituents, to certain types of information that they clearly can't tell people publicly, like private information. But there's types of information where like it's probably in the best interest of the public to know, like, hey, there's a global fucking pandemic unfolding. Don't go outside and join in super spreader events. Like, can you imagine if the government knew that COVID was spreading, but they didn't say shit? Like, we would consider that woefully immoral and not in the interest of public health at all, because a lot of people could die as a result of withholding that information. So like, just getting into like all of these layers in terms of my brain and analyzing these things, like it's hard to put them all together in a way that's like principled.
episode that I can find mentally as I walk through it that would be something where someone isn't motivated by something really sinister and dark.
You and Black, did you guys go over the Howard Lutnick thing? Yeah, our Secretary of Commerce, he was alongside Trump when he was talking at nauseam as he does about how much we should stop talking about Epstein. And somebody had pointed out how, our current Secretary of Commerce, Howard Lutnick, was Epstein's neighbor in the past, very recent. I'm sure it's just a coincidence. I mean, partially, it could be a coincidence, but then, it could also be a coincidence that Anthony Blinken's father was Robert Maxwell's lawyer. Like, there seems to be a trend here of people having associates in high positions close to the scandal, but no actual progress being made on bringing to justice the perpetrators of the scandal. So it's like convenient placement of these figures, considering they have potential implication in the scandal.
I mean, that's the kind of stuff that conspiracy theorists kind of take, I think, and run with a little too much. But there's like all intricate, like it's just an embodiment of uncareful thinking. But if you want to take that approach, you can just like create a web of associations between people who are high in the government and people who are affiliated in some way with Epstein. And those would be, I guess, the list of suspects, but the connections are so loose that really depending on implication as opposed to anything kind of like actionable. And that looseness is what I would criticize. Like, just because I happen to live next door to Jeffrey Epstein doesn't mean I was in on his weird criminal relation. I mean, that's obviously true. It's possible that the connection goes deeper and maybe he was implicated in some way, but nothing about having been his neighbor like indicates that. So that's the looseness that's why I don't like doing conspiracy theories, because that's just bad reasoning.
Yeah, I mean, if we're waiting on the logic,
Like an actionable connection.
for sure, I would agree. That's the responsible way to take it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, suspicions are fine. I think some suspicions are more grounded than others, though. But yeah, suspicions are fine. I mean, part of what I would criticize is the really not well-grounded suspicions. It's just like I don't think those are justified either. I think some suspicions are more warranted.
I would ask, would you consider the connection stated as what would you say, groundable or reasonable?
You just merely being a neighbor of somebody who did a crime is not
Just being the neighbor and then being the Secretary of Commerce for the person that's leading the charge on suppressing any type of suspicion having to do with it. Like standing right next to him as he's saying this.
no. I mean,
There's nothing to elevate the suspicion. advocating.
I'm advocating for is careful reasoning in this slide. I like conspiracy theorizing. However, I do understand these inclinations for connecting the dots. So I'll acknowledge, like, okay, I can see why you would think that or associate these things, but I would object on these bases, and then I would just leave it at that. Like, I wouldn't say, aha, so therefore it's false. I'd just be like, well, I mean, you might be right, unbeknownst to me, I have no idea, but this is how I would make that suspicion. That's all I'm just.
Like when it comes to like anything Lincoln's connection to Epstein, would you say that that's a slightly Maxwell's lawyer?
Robert Maxwell's lawyer.
Yeah, Robert, as he was Ghislaine's father.
Okay, so then,
those Epstein and Robert Maxwell's shared tie to the Israeli government would be the connection.
so you're talking the Israeli government. I think Lincoln is not.
No. Robert Epstein.
Sorry, I'm taking a step back because I'm trying to factor in the connection to the Israeli government part, where that's new. That's a new thing that you've introduced. Now I'm not clear how that fits in everything.
Are you unsure about Robert Maxwell's involvement with the Israeli government, or is that like?
No, anybody. So this is Julian Maxwell's dad is involved with the Israeli government in what capacity?
I believe he was a spy for Mossad, if I'm not mistaken, if that information.
He was a spy for, so he's the American citizen.
No, I don't think so.
Is he an Israeli citizen?
I believe so. Let me fact check.
Okay.
I think they kind of has the same problems as the previous connection. It's hard to directly connect the dots.
I'm trying to understand everything before I make a judgment. Right. Never heard of this stuff, so
Yeah. Well, as far as the neighbor thing, if the neighbor became the head of the FBI, it'd make me think a little more than becoming Commerce Secretary. Because the FBI director could actually be in a place to actually suppress commerce. I'm not sure how much leverage you have over the Justice Department of Commerce.
I guess it would depend on several things in my opinion. The objective here is to be carefully and reasoning, to be as fair as reasonably, as reason allows you to be to people, and not presume things or leap to conclusions. That's what being careful in your reason consists of. So that's what I'm trying to take into account all of the facets and see if could a reasonable person come to a certain conclusion without any kind of errors in reasoning or fallacies.
Yeah, I agree.
A lower standard would be reasonable suspicion. So then what you would do is acknowledge that you can't lead to the conclusion, but you have enough information to justify a reasonable suspicion that something may be the case that you can't prove. That's a lower standard, but that's so that's I'm trying to be very explicit about the two different others.
Yeah, I agree.
So far, based on what I've heard, I mean, maybe there's some things I don't know that I haven't heard yet that we can take into account.
Just a quick clarification on his origins. He's Czech born, and he was a British media accused of being a Mossad agent.
Okay. I'm not sure how to factor that into the rest of the stuff.
Well, I guess the common argument is the reason that Epstein is not brought to justice is because of protection of Israeli, or at least as far as I understand it.
But he's not Israeli.
No.
So is the presumption or the suspicion that members of the Israeli government are implicated by Epstein?
Yeah, so the presumption is that members of the Israeli government are implicated in the trafficking ring that Epstein was participating in.
Okay. And Anthony Blinken fits into that how?
His father-in-law was Ghislaine's father's lawyer.
Okay. So why would that's why I'm confused by its role. But
Yeah, I mean, I'm posing these points of popular, like things that people have popularly identified with his connections, just to offer what are the things that are people saying. I'm not saying any of it to be like, oh, this is why we know that Anthony Blinken is this. You know, I'm just giving the information that is commonly speculated on, right? Like even Alex Jones, he was talking about Robert Maxwell's.
repeated this way. You don't think that Anthony Blinken something was the question? Do you remember the question?
Yeah, I forget it.
Well, I mean, to me, based on what you said, the connection between Anthony Blinken and either Elaine Maxwell or Jeffrey Epstein seems spurious and loose. So I don't think much of it. I don't know that there's anything we can glean from the fact that the stepfather of Anthony Blinken was Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyer. But maybe I'm missing something.
Well, Jason, here's one thing. If you really wanted to get to the truth, Congress, what's that chick that's in jail right now that worked with Epstein? What's her name? That Maxwell girl.
His wife.
Yeah, just bring her in, give her full immunity, and so you're going to commute the sentence. And if you get full immunity, you can't claim the fifth, and you're obligated to tell everything you know, or you can be prosecuted again, and your immunity can be taken away. And just tell her, okay, what do you know? Lay it out.
Yeah, the Republicans are actually blocking that. Which is hilarious.
Why would they do that?
It was actually actively trying to pursue precisely that. And the Republicans are actively blocking it.
I don't get that. I don't get that at all. I mean, I don't know how they think this makes them look good in any way.
Oh, it doesn't. It makes them look horrible. It's quite a them to take full advantage of.
You guys need it, man. It's been such a great 6 months. I don't understand why people keep talking about this Epstein stuff. Like, just let it go. Just let it go.
I mean, he's done some good things. Trump, I think the biggest problem he had, number one, his hubris towards Putin and what he thought he could do with Putin. And Putin leveraged that hubris to make him look like an idiot. And then he tried to throw too many balls in the air that was really complicated stuff. He tried to do them simultaneously. He couldn't focus on one thing to get it really. I think he's got some things done. Complete success, no. But, yeah, I think he just, worked out the shoe in lots of cases.
So, I mean, if there was nothing to worry about, like, what is, I guess, in this case scenario where Democrats or Republicans are not implicated in this list, like, what is the problem?
You get fuckers off of Medicaid. And even with this Epstein shit, he's fucking worthless. He comes to Israel and bombed Iran just because, a bunch of whiny, I'm not gonna get into it. I mean, it's just like pathetic. He's not even beating America first, and he hasn't been.
I mean, yeah, I thought that I'm lucky.
I just want to say that is he worse than the alternative that he put out saying makes sense. The Democrats, does anybody believe the Democrats would have released that Epstein file?
One of the two Jews controlled candidates, so we did.
Yeah, with the other.
Now it's time to have a chicken come and speak to me. How you doing?
Come on, look at this chicken call. Let's roll to get fired. You know what's not bad for the front. Come on, bro. There's nothing wrong with it. If I don't doesn't come out, it ain't fresh. Come on, bro. Lazy stuff from the music.
Now it's time to have the roasted breakfast fresh every day. How you doing? but you're free to consume what you want to consume. There's nothing racist or anti-Semitic if you don't want to watch their content.
The thing that I'm telling you is, if you believe what I believe, you don't even need to know everyone else.
So, look, I mean, I think that there's something to what Mr. is saying. I guess the question is, what do we do about it? Okay, all the candidates are controlled by the Jews. Sure, let's say it's true. Okay, but there are still some differences between candidates. And I think I am sympathetic with Alan here, where he's saying basically the Democrats went way too far. And so we kind of needed to, beat them back a little bit. And that's the choice that we have. But it is the choice that we have.
Those two choices, that's like heading in the same direction. One one's going 100 miles an hour, the other one's just doing the speed. Like, at some point, you have to reject the whole thing, right? At some point, like in 1776, you have to kick over the fucking deal, right? Like, at some point, it's going to become too much. I think Jews have that much power and control in America. How is it that this conversation, you are like resistant and reluctant? We're not resistant. I've been talking to neo-Nazis, which you're very similar. No. If this, but I don't have. But I've been having these conversations for years. It's like, I'm not. That's fine. But what I'm trying to say is simply in this conversation, like, you have found yourself resistant in case it became too much of a common part of the earlier. But yet they, by their own admission, I saw just this morning in the meeting that down, they say we are 1/10 of 1% of the world population. How the fuck is it that they're involved in every little fucking thing? It's not the fucking scientific. I think that there's it's a little bit overestimated the level of control they have.
I have a question for you. I'm going to ask, this question is on behalf of myself and maybe others. Anderson, what is your background, if you don't mind me asking? Because you're clicking on you don't have anything to say. So you basically have 32 friends and you have no bio. So you're a conversation here. No, I'm not a Jew. I'm not a Jew. I'm actually a 80th generation American. Anderson, the problem is that you do and you can't shut the fuck up. I speak. No, Anderson, you can shut the fuck up when people speak to you. Say something like you're fucking your up. No, hold on a second, Anderson. Who are you? Why don't you get a little background? Why don't you educate the whole entire speech on who you are and where your standing comes from? Defer.
I mean, however he has, but I know. I've talked to him quite a bit. We don't agree on everything, but he's, he doesn't want to tell where he's from. How can he on his beliefs?
It's inside that. I'm getting inside that.
What's relevance does that matter?
Well, I want to know why it makes you so fucking more than what you say. I couldn't conspire. Why don't you explain where you come from? Because I like to know where you come from.
The thing is, though, is that, okay, but the thing is a lot of people, think that they have similar beliefs as Mr. And so, as you guys know, I don't really, I'll let pretty much people with the most offensive opinions come on my stage, and I'll speak with them, so then if that offends you, I don't know what you guys obviously come back, week after week when I drop the N-bomb, so, I mean, you can go fuck yourselves.
No disregard, no disrespect for you, Anderson. I do appreciate your voice on stage. I just wanted to understand you a little bit more. I appreciate your voice. It's irrelevant. So you want me to send you a private message then? Actually, what you're going to do, it's irrelevant. So why do you want to?
I don't want to. No, we don't have to do this. Let's just change. I don't want to. Nobody has to get
I appreciate authenticity. That's what I'm saying.
He's obviously from the British Isles. He's obviously from the British Isles. He obviously has some strong opinions about Jews and Israel. That's fine. So we don't need to know more.
I mean, people keep thinking I'm Jewish because of my bio, because I have Jewish flag in my bio. I support okay, some people have. Okay, so I'm just telling you what's happened on Clubhouse. And
okay, you guys are whining. You guys are now whining as much as Jews. This is ironic.
I'm part of the
I have friends in all places. Yeah, about that. Young places, high places, every place. I got lots of friends. Yeah, we have to. Yeah. Both Pepe and Mr. Maybe you know about this. I put the link to indivisible.org. The first one I did wasn't correct. The second one is. I mean, when you ask, why isn't Trump doing everything he said? That's the first link. Because if you go to their resources and their quote guide to opposing Trump, it states literally everything that they're doing and their whole tactic is to either stop or delay through lawfare. And then I'm going to put a link to this other YouTube channel, which is from a lawyer, where like everything that's going with Abrego Garcia and the judge saying turn this plane around, telling Trump he needs to turn the plane around. He goes over every single document that the Trump files, the rulings that the judges do, and I've been watching it off and on for months. It is the reason why Trump is not able to do everything that he wants to do. If Trump had been unfettered, there would have been a lot more illegals removed from this country. But they are literally tricking him up with all of these district court judges. And Trump, knowing, and the administration, knowing that if he goes outside the law, then the Democrats will say, and they're saying it anyways, he's breaking the Constitution, he's not following the Constitution. It's a constitutional crisis. He doesn't believe in the rule of law and all of that. He knows that will happen, but he also knows he's got a majority on the Supreme Court, and all they're doing, all it is, it's a delay tactic. So, for example, with that whole thing of, if you thought, well, I won't go into specific case, but if you watch this guy's videos, you will see that some judge will make some nationwide ruling, and then Trump will appeal it. Then it goes back down to the court, and then then the judge finds some other bullshit reason why he shouldn't act.
So it holds everything up, basically.
Yeah, he knows how it works. Yeah, but when you watch it, you will also get the sense that while Trump is not, it seems like he's not doing everything that he said he would do. He actually is. It's the Democrats who are fucking him up. But as these things work through the court, then eventually it's working out in his favor.
But it's also just cringe. I mean, I don't know. Just the stuff he's doing. Like, even I had kept my sympathies, okay, like Jewish students not being able to go to class. Last I heard, there was no like serious assaults of Jewish students. I could be wrong, but it's just like these kids were allowed to say anti-white and anti-American shit all the fucking time on college campuses. Now, when they do it to a foreign country, it's like wrap them up, send them away, we've got to deport them. And they want to make stupid laws saying they can't say shit that's quote unquote anti-Semitic. It's just vague. And it's just, I don't know, it's just like, he's basically, that's like when the campus protests after October 7th, that's kind of like when now all of a sudden you had, a lot of very outspoken, powerful, wealthy people saying like, turn against wokeism, but it's like, they're still kind of being woke themselves, they're still doing the same woke bullshit, but just for themselves and not other minorities. It's fucking cringe.
I would brag about keeping my mind.
Black Minister, buddy.
Can we, can you try to, if you're gonna say I'm a black Irish, like so-called, just say it. You don't have to tell us about the history of like.
And where is Black Minister? I don't see anything.
He's in others in the group at the very bottom.
You invited because it won't let me scroll down.
I can't do that anyway, too.
Oh, come on!
Wow. Andrew, you're a moderator.
It won't let me work.
I'm just gonna let us the middle section.
Oh no, I found it. Black Jesus Minister, buddy, how's it going?
Lots of black people tend to think that Christianity is the religion they got from their slave masters, and the reason why they think that is because it's true.
Oh, that's really bad. Today.
Okay, so what Sawyer did, most of the black people, okay, so you black Americans, they spent like, I don't know, a couple hundred years in slavery. Most of them converted to Christianity under that time period, not after. So, how
Slavery was a long time ago. I think you're being like a Christian of it.
Yeah, also, they only received the slave Bible, which took out 90% of the Old Testament, like 65% of the New Testament. So maybe when for a couple of reasons, it was like, yeah, if these people believe the Bible, why would they take parts out? That's like insane. We shouldn't believe it.
is it true that lots of slaves meant the slave Bible that took out like Exodus and stuff? Is that true?
Yeah, it took out almost all of it. I mean, think about it. All the foundational stories are like God taking you out of slavery or somebody rising up slavery to the ranks to like be the vice president of Egypt and stuff. You know, like do this here. And
Like, people comment to like give them a fucking edited Bible.
yeah, the slave Bible they only received. There's like a whole thing, like museum full. I mean, you have to think when you're reading Paul, it says like, if you can free yourself from slavery, avail yourself of the opportunity. You don't actually want that in their Bible. See,
Wait, isn't it Paul saying you should obey your master even if he's cruel? Isn't that?
yeah, but he's talking about during basically you're committing yourself to somebody's household in like Rome or something, right? And so like you know, even if you're living with a shitty guy, you know, just you know, don't become a shitty person. He was trying to curtail the kind of like stuff we talked about the other day with the Hasmonean and like let's all be rebels and like we're secretly like bitter against everybody and let's plan in private like this kind of like, you know, crazy fighting like way to like war against people or whatever. That's the stuff he was like. Because if you were, whenever he said like if you can avail yourself of the opportunity to free yourself from slavery, you should do it. He just meant like, but don't do something like take a death from somebody and then be like, but it turns out he sucks. I don't have to pay like my debts or whatever. That kind of thing.
ChatGPT says
a theory of mine that is best suited according to the evidence.
We saw that debate that was awful when Cleaver was talking. He's the one who I could never sit up right. It was terrible. Like he would get thrown on forever. It's quick to get just make a second point.
Yes, right.
Were they debating?
Alright, I'm looking at the captions right now. It says,
Economics on morality.
homosexuality, animal ethics, utilitarianism, ethics.
It was on whether or not I don't remember if it was whether or not he's
Congress, can you help me get Uncle Thomas on here? Uncle Tom? Yeah, I mean, that's pretty short. Uncle Thomas. Bogardus. Wait, the actual one or the song? Yeah, that'd be awesome. The song, yeah, the song, I know what you know the actual one. Yeah, I can get him on. You just have to, there's like a certain methodology I follow that work time. First is, so first is, I say, like, hey, look, I had on, so I'll be telling, like, build your kind of credibility. If you can,
Okay, I'm gonna read a poem to all you brain rot sufferers out there. This is called Bringing Light into Darkness. Even in the strongest in-betweener, evil is never totally vanquished. Yet there are times, especially during the Shema and the Amidah, when you are completely surrendered to God. Your intellect awash in sublime ecstasy, and emptied in deep contemplation of the infinite spaciousness of the endless one. At such moments, evil is overcome and nullified. When the ecstasy passes, the selfish passions return. Yet everyone is born with the capacity to turn these passions Godward. As it is written, then I saw that wisdom surpasses folly, as light surpasses darkness. As light, I feel like this is an exorcism for some of the people in the room. As light effortlessly defeats darkness, and yet cannot erase it, so the in-betweener defeats evil, yet negative thoughts continue to arise. Do not dwell upon such thoughts, but thrust them aside with both hands, countering the selfish with the selfless, refraining from anger, and offering kindness even to those who offend you. An in-betweener is not sometimes good and sometimes evil, but rather forever engaged in bringing selfish passions under the influence of selfless service. While this sounds like a life of inner struggle here on Clown House, the way itself is in fact effortless. Just as a burning candle doesn't struggle against the darkness, but effortlessly keeps it at bay. So you are not to fight your selfish nature, only to kindle the flame of kindness, refraining from anger and offering kindness to everyone on Clown House are how you live the way of the in-betweener. The Benoni in-betweener always struggles with both sides of the heart, the inclination for good and the inclination for evil. When contemplating the Shema, hear Shema, O Israel, the infinite is God, the infinite is one. You surrender to the oneness of God, erasing all sense of separate self. The Amidah, standing prayer, is the central prayer of Jewish worship. During the Amidah, you stand in the presence of God and are annulled in that presence the way a wave is annulled in the ocean. In Zohar, we are taught that while passions arise of their own accord outside your control, you can choose how to respond to them. Up next, we're going to read from The Great Way of Tao Te Ching. The movement of the Tao consists in returning. The use of the Tao consists in softness. All things under heaven are born of the corporeal. The corporeal is born of the incorporeal. When a wise...
Can you read verse number 9 next from the Tao?
As for holding to fullness, far better were it to stop in time. Keep on beating and sharpening a sword, and the edge cannot be preserved for long. Fill your house with gold and jade, and it can no longer be guarded. Set store by your riches and honor, and you will only reap a crop of calamities. Here is the way of heaven. When you have done your work, retire! The highest form of goodness is like water. Water knows how to benefit all things without striving with them. Stays in places loathed by all clown house men. Therefore it comes near the Tao. In choosing your dwelling, know how to keep to the ground. In cultivating your mind, know how to dive in the hidden deeps. In dealing with others on Clown House, know how to be gentle and kind. In speaking, know how to keep your words. In governing, know how to maintain order. In transacting business, know how to be efficient. In making a move, know how to choose the right moment. If you do not strive with others, you will be free from blame. Heaven lasts long and earth abides. What is the secret of their durability? It is not because they do not live for themselves that they can live so long. Therefore the sage wants to remain behind, but finds himself at the head of others, reckons himself out, but finds himself safe and secure. It is not because he is selfless that his self is realized. The spirit of the fountain dies not. It is called the mysterious feminine. The doorway of the mysterious feminine is called the root of heaven and earth. Lingering like gossamer, it has only a hint of existence. And yet when you draw upon it, it is inexhaustible. Heaven and earth is not sentimental. It treats all things as straw dogs. The sage is not sentimental. He treats all his clown house people as straw dogs. Between heaven and earth there seems to be a bellows. It is empty, and yet it is inexhaustible. The more it works, the more comes out of it. No amount of words can fathom it. Better look for it within you. The Tao is like an empty bowl, which in being used can never be filled up. Fathomless, it seems to be the origin of all things. It blunts all sharp edges, it unties all tangles, it harmonizes all lights. It unites the world into one whole, hidden in the deeps of Clown House, yet it seems to exist forever. I do not know whose child it is. It seems to be the common ancestor of all, the father of things. By not exalting the talented, you will cause the people to cease from rivalry and contention. By not prizing goods hard to get, you will cause the people to cease from robbing and stealing. By not displaying what is desirable, you will cause the people's hearts to remain undisturbed. Therefore, the sage's way of governing begins by emptying the heart of desires, filling the belly with food, weakening the ambitions, toughening the bones. In this way, he will cause the people to remain without knowledge and without desire, and prevent the knowing ones from any ado. Practice non-ado, and everything will be in order. When all the world recognizes beauty as beauty, this in itself is ugliness. When all the world recognizes good as good, this in itself is evil. Indeed, the hidden and the manifest give birth to each other. Difficult and easy complement each other. Long and short exhibit each other. High and low set measure to each other. Voice and sound harmonize each other. Back and front follow each other. Therefore, the clown house sage manages his affairs without ado, and spreads his teaching without talking. He denies nothing to the teeming things. He rears them, but lays no claim to them. He does his work, but sets no store by it. He accomplishes his task, but does not dwell upon it. And yet it is just because he does not dwell on it that nobody can ever take it away from him. The Tao can be talked about, but not the eternal Tao. Names can be named, but not the eternal name. Is the origin of heaven and earth, it is nameless. As the mother of all things, it is nameable. So as ever hidden, we should look at its inner essence as always manifest. We should look at its outer aspects. These two flow from the same source, though differently named, and both are called mysteries. The mystery of mysteries is the door of all essence.
This room's chaotic. This room's gay. Oh my god, look, Lexi's being a poser now. Alright, well.
Oh, what's your throat?
Willow, what's the last time you guys copy me? I was the original person. You're happy. So all y'all fucking down. He thinks white people choose. He believes in the, like, you know, the tribes of Israel, and he admitted to this that he believes the tribes of Israel went up through Europe, basically.
Yeah, the Caucasus Mountains. What about that?
Does he really? That's a stupid damn thing to believe.
Well, what do you, Congress? What do you do with the verse about ships? What do you do with that?
Which one? Because there's a few.
Well, the one about they were putting iron around your necks or whatever, and you would be sold or no, you would be transported in ships or something.
You're talking about Deuteronomy 28.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that already happened.
Well, I know they're saying it happened. They're saying it happened during this transatlantic slave trade. They're like, who else can you cite in history?
The Jews actually went into slavery in ships, back into Egypt. You see, the biggest problem is that whenever it says
because God can't save there's iron involved.
no, this was a curse on the Jews that they didn't follow God. He's gonna like let them go basically, and then other nations would enslave them or something. But no, there's like a specific. Thankfully, God has like the exact. I forget which one it was, but there's like a time frame where Jews actually went back into Egypt and as slaves.
So that was a prophecy.
Yeah, well, it wasn't necessarily prophecy. It was just like saying like if it's like a conditional. You know, if you guys give up on the covenant that you're agreeing to, then these things will befall you or whatever, because I won't protect you anymore. Kind of thing. But it was only for the fact of Judah, though, right? So, like, Toast thinks the majority of people in Europe are like the lost tribes of Israel. And they have, like, look, I've actually seen these guys. I've watched the lectures and I've read, like, one thing on it. and they actually have like entire genealogical charts where they go like, okay, this group came from the Scythians, and the Scythians are blah blah blah, come from the Sakasuni, and the Sakasuni means the sons of Isaac. Like they have these whole chart. The mark of Denmark is the mark of Dan. Denmark is the mark of Dan. Blah blah blah. You know.
Well,
They would just put the whole thing to rest. I mean, it's so bad, dude.
Yeah, and then they got like the Anglo-Saxons, like the people, the angel people. That's because they're confirmation.
So, like, part of my education in university was like on this stuff, and that's not what any
Yeah, well, then it'd be interesting to see you go through all the claims.
Be strong and courageous. Do not be frightened. Do not be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that is good and acceptable and perfect will of God. He who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord, being confident of this very thing, that he who has begun a good work in you will complete it until the day of Jesus Christ. Show me your ways, O Lord, teach me your paths, lead me in your truth, and teach me, for you are the God of my salvation. On you I wait all the day. Don't forget to do good and to share with those in need. These are the sacrifices that please God. Give thanks in all circumstances, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus for you. The Lord will fulfill his purpose for me. Your steadfast love, O Lord, endures forever. Do not forsake the work of your hands.
No one even knows what you look like. You're just a little kid, shit, like you think it's fun, everything you do is a fucking watch. I will look to your chair.
This is brutal. I'm just gonna put some music on.
You will never be little Haiti, girl. You will never be this little Haiti. Some shit, little Haiti. three pictures of herself: your titties, your lips, and that fucking ugly orange bikini bitch. Those are only three pictures.
Question: how much do you pay for renting that?
And you always
So
show
me
your
and my
fucking
roommate actually
mouth.
spent
and you always
$3,200 for a
That's how you
two-bed,
do.
two-bath, and
I like the other bitches that they actually show their face. They actually show their body. You only show the same fucking pictures. Think about that. Think about that, Lexi. Why do you show the same pictures but nothing else, girl? You talk about being someone,
It is
girl.
written
You're
that
not
Moses
no one, girl.
returned
We
to
all
camp,
got
but
the
his
same,
attendant
girl.
Joshua,
Shit.
son of Nun, Ruth, did not stir out of the tent. Why Joshua? Because he was to Moses as the Moses to the son. He was worthy to guard the pledge, so he did not stir out of the tent. Blessed Holy One said to Moses, Moses, this is not right. They've given my pledge to them, even though they've sinned against me. The pledge must remain with them. Return for its sake, I will not abandon them wherever they are, even them against me. They have not obeyed his pledge of his. Strike and dart up and powered, they enter the hollow of the great abyss. Here their sparks are dyed red, blazing fires fuse to them. Embers explode, flying, falling, befalling human beings, just as it is written, I will discipline you more. I will give something more to the masters of judgment over and above their claim, whereas after the flood God said, I shall not doom the world anymore because of humankind. What does this mean anymore? I will not give more to the masters of judgment, lest they destroy the world, but only as much as the world can endure. So I will discipline you more, means I will give them more. Why more? To discipline you 7 for your sins, 7. But if the blessed Holy One collected his due, the world could not endure for even a moment, as it is written, if you kept account of sins, Yahweh, who would survive? How can you say 7 for your sins? Rather, what does 7 strike and dart up and powered? They enter the hollow of the great abyss. Here their sparks are dyed red, blazing fires fuse to them. This has got to be by far the greatest one of the fact that I have like just never knew about the you guys really live with your heart dedicated to craft. Congressman Vincentia too for allowing this madness to probably be listened to. I mean, I think I've provided the balancing effect against the extreme toxic. That's just my opinion. It's my opinion.
What'd you say, Tomas?
Specifically a true just means that you either know or you don't. They argue that that's the thing about opposite each other. I'm just using it that way. So obviously you don't have a theory on things that establishes the truth of the claim.
You know, Clubhouse is like, it's like bird watching. You're just trying to find out which birds can get the angriest, the most crazy, the most toxic. We're looking for like mutant birds in the forest that are so radioactive that they'll literally shine forever because they're that mutated and that angry, that crazy. Wasted. Yeah, this is the circus. This is the freak show. Welcome to Dinner for Schmucks. We're trying to identify the most toxic schmucks here. Let's see who's the biggest toxic schmuck. Put a 1 in the chat if you think pussy is the most toxic schmuck you've ever heard. Put a 1 in the chat for pussy. Put a 2 in the chat for recommendation. Put a 3 in the chat for my friend Zach Delabuno. Put a 4 in the chat for Vincentia. Or put a 5 in the chat for Abby. Post your vote now. Post your vote now. Post your vote now. Post your vote now. Put a 1 for pussy. 2 for admin. 3 for Zach. 4 for Abby. 5 for This is called Clubhouse Data Analytics Gathering. And we'll allow you all back to Roberto, aka Robert Taylor, the Bitcoin laundromat, where really low IQ people come to waste their time. T-Robs, oh, don't forget to put T-Robs. Let's put him at number 10. Put a 10 in the chat if you think T-Robs is one of the most pathetic, most deranged, most low IQ Irish sounding potato farmers you've ever heard. Put a 10 in the chat for Rob. That's right, put a 10 in the chat for Rob. Put a 10 in the chat for Rob, everybody. If you think T-Rob's in Northern Ireland is one of the sorriest sons of bitches you've ever heard in your life, put a 10 in the chat for Tim. Put a chat in the 10 for chat for Tim.
Was this like your premise conditional statement? Yeah, you're getting dispatched. You're an absolute brain dead retard. You're not learning to talk with us. You're just struggling through the conversation because you're rhetorically outpaced. You look terrible right now. I mean, that's your opinion. You're just choking on my rhetorical day. You can't form repeating sentences. You're an absolute fucker. I don't know if you think you look good right now, but you look terrible.
High virtue is non-virtuous. Therefore, it has virtue. Low virtue never frees itself from virtuousness. Therefore, it has no virtue. High virtue makes no fuss. It has no private ends to serve. High ceremony fusses but finds no response. Then it tries to enforce itself with rolled up sleeves. Failing Tao, man resorts to virtue. Failing virtue, man resorts to humanity. Failing humanity, man resorts to ceremony. Now ceremony is the merest husk of faith and loyalty. It is the beginning of all confusion and disorder. As to foreknowledge, it is only the flower of Tao and the beginning of folly. Therefore, the full-grown man sets his heart upon the substance rather than the husk. upon the fruit rather than the flower. Truly, he prefers what is within to what is without. From of old, there are not lacking things that have attained oneness. The sky attained oneness and became clear. The earth attained oneness and became calm. The spirits attained oneness and became charged with mystical powers. The fountains attained oneness and became full. The 10,000 creatures attained oneness and became reproductive. The barons and princes attained oneness and became sovereign rulers of the world. All of them are what they are by virtue of oneness. If the sky were not clear, it would be likely to burst into bits. If the spirits were not charged with mystical powers, they would be likely to cease from being. If the fountains were not full, they would be likely to dry up. If the 10,000 creatures were not reproductive, they would be likely to come to extinction. If the barons and princes were not the sovereign rulers, they would be likely to stumble and fall. Truly, humility is the root from which greatness springs, and the high must be built upon the foundation of the low. That is why barons and princes style themselves the helpless one, the little one, and the worthless one.
You're not real. You have a broadcast kid. I think Lexi is winning, actually. I just started listening to what she was saying. Yeah. It stands by volume, Lexi. Yeah. Because of volume. The only thing that you have going for you is volume. Yeah. That you have no argument. Yeah, you're probably like a fat, ugly Mexican loser. Fat, ugly loser. You suck. Can't even make an argument. I might be Lexi. Just to hurt you. I'm gonna do it just to hurt you, and then you're gonna have to watch it and cry. Yeah, nobody likes
L'Adonai